Hello and welcome to Views on News. I am Jawad Tehami. Mr. Recep Tayyip Erdogan has been re-elected and sworn in as the president of Turkey for a historic third term, and many world leaders attended the inauguration ceremony, including Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. Also, he felicitated the Turkish president on his re-election as the president of Turkey, and also on the behalf of the government and the people of Pakistan. Now, President Erdogan thanked the Prime Minister for the warm greetings and also reciprocated the warm sentiments. Earlier, the Foreign Office had said regarding this particular visit by Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif to Ankara, let me quote, Prime Minister's visit is a reaffirmation of the deep-rooted fraternal ties between Pakistan and Turkey. Pakistan-Turkiye relationship is deeply embedded in commonalities of faith, culture and history, and strengthened by mutual trust and convergence of views on regional and global matters. Unquote. Now, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif also, during his two-day tour to Turkey, had meetings with the leaders of the various business groups in Turkey, and also highlighted the potential of investment in Pakistani market, also saying that Pakistan will ensure the facilitation and the conducive business environment for the Turkish investors. He also said, let me quote, exciting opportunities have emerged for bilateral collaboration, especially after historic trade in goods agreement became operational on May the 31st, unquote. In today's program, we'll be taking an understanding of the various dimensions of Pakistan-Turkiye's bilateral relationship. And for that, we are honored to have been joined in the studio by Professor Dr. Aqab Malik. He is associated with Center for International Peace and Stability at NUST. Dr. Aqab, thank you very much for joining in at Views on News tonight. We really appreciate your time. On Skype at the same time, we are being joined by Mr. Shikoh Atif, his senior economist. Mr. Atif, thank you very much for joining in at Views on News tonight. We really appreciate your time. Let me begin the discussion with you, Dr. Malik. Now, what primary factor do you think is the strongest pillar of this bilateral relationship between Pakistan and Turkey?
I think both countries have recently gone through and undergoing a very severe economic crisis. In fact, Turkey more so, if you think about exactly where they're heading with the inflation rates over 60%, so it's much worse in Pakistan. So they're trying to foment this. They have now achieved some degree of stability, because the elections are always an unstable event for economies, because there's uncertainty about who's going to do the leadership, who's going to be able to foment the policies, and where they're going to go. So now there's more certainty as to where the business community and international business as well, where Erdogan, he is a conservative, he wants to continue the reforms that he has in the economic sphere, but also I think Pakistan has always been aligned with Turkey for a long time, and they share a sense of historical understanding. And I think Pakistan's situation is quite difficult as well, economically, politically, and what Pakistan also needs is a staunch ally in many respects in the international environment that would support it in many of the ventures that it needs to go into. I think there's a common understanding there, given especially that Turkey is part of NATO. So this is a special understanding to have a backdoor into NATO as well, in the sense that you've got some supporter that any event may occur for Pakistan. The situation here is quite difficult in Pakistan. Because of the political uncertainty, because of the lack of elections at this moment in time, and whenever that occurs, and when there's a more stable government, whichever one that is, I think Pakistan will begin to come out of this economic crisis. But that needs to occur in sync with the political stability as well. And that is in relation to the wider global community. And when you need friends, this is a time when we need friends more than any other time. And Turkey has always been a friend of ours. I think it will support us in many different ways. And it's not just in diplomatic sense, but I think also in the geopolitical aspect, but also economically, having increased trade between each other. But also remember, a certain significant event is occurring around the world now, with maybe in the forthcoming elections to bring in new countries into BRICS. And when there are over 25 right now countries that have applied to go into BRICS. If all of them get in, you'll have 30 countries which are the greater population than the rest of the world, over half of the population in the world, and GDP to that extent as well. So that's going to change dynamics. And if Pakistan comes into this as well, that means trading, not in dollars, but trading in local currency or bartering through commodities. And this is our advantage of getting out of, I think, the economic crisis that we're in. And Turkey wants to be part of that as well, because it wasn't allowed into the European Union, which is a big mistake for the European Union. So it has to look for alternative economic blocks to find partnerships within, to be able to trade and bring its own prosperity within its own country. And that's the same with Pakistan. I think there may have been discussions about this. There are high-level discussions going on, and many of these countries that are engaging and wanting to go into the BRICS union, you could call it now. I think it would be called something very different in that respect. And we'll see what happens. Obviously, it's all speculation at this moment in time, but there is a significant geopolitical and geoeconomic shift in the world about to occur, maybe before the end of the year. And Pakistan needs to really actively think about where it needs to go, what its existing history was, and where it can turn to, given the economic situation that we are in at this moment in time.
So we try to take an analysis historically of this bilateral relationship. What main pillars do you think had been in this particular bilateral relationship when we talk about the security cooperation, also the coordination among the political institutions between the two countries, also the cultural historical ties between them?
I think the militaries are very much in sync, but you've got to appreciate that Turkey has certain limitations, primarily because it is a member of NATO, so it's governed with its relationships within the parameters or restrictions imposed by NATO to an extent. So it can engage in certain aspects. For example, can Turkey engage with Iran? It's highly unlikely in strategic factors and military factors. It cannot, because it would contravene certain tenets within NATO. But with Pakistan, there are certain less restrictions in this respect, especially in relation to counterterrorism, where we could mutually reinforce each other. But there are also aspects, like I mentioned, in economic sphere, which is absolutely pertinent, and this is the most important aspect in this moment in time.
I'll get your detailed view right after I take the view of Mr. Shikoh Atif. Mr. Shikoh Atif, thank you very much for joining in. Now, when we talk about the bilateral relationship between Pakistan and Turkey, if we take a historical analysis on the economic front of this bilateral relationship, how do you think this particular relationship on the economic front had been between the two countries so far?
Economic relationships, but in none of our economic relationships is the people-to-people connection any stronger. And that people-to-people connection and that business sentiment behind the business is really, really important. So Turkey, and whenever Pakistan has needed, Turkey has stepped in. And whenever Turkey has been in a need of any sort, to the best of our ability, Pakistan has stood in and done its very best. So the history that both of these countries share, and what going forward, both countries have had some stumbles. Turkey, with its candidacy to enter the European Union, but what President Erdogan has done and metamorphosized over the past couple of decades is something for Pakistan to follow suit in and follow in their footsteps as we move forward.
So Mr. Atif, what about the economic front of this bilateral relationship? How this particular front had been between the two countries so far? What are the future prospects, especially when you talk about the trade in goods agreement that was signed between Pakistan and Turkey, which has become operational from 31st of May this year? As the Prime Minister says, immense opportunities have emerged after the signing and this particular agreement and it coming into operation.
Actually, the one thing that the Prime Minister was able to communicate to Turkey and the business community there was one single word, and that was stability. Pakistan is a stable country. don't go after what the headlines in the international media says. I find over the past 4 or 5 years, Pakistan has not communicated this message of stability at any time prior to this. The one stumble that the macroeconomic community all across the globe has been facing, Turkey and Pakistan have not been sort of excluded from that. And that is the tremendous rise in the value of the US dollar. So the US dollar has impacted the economy of every country, including Turkey. What it has done is, because the US dollar has grown so much in value, it has impacted the debts and the loans in Turkey as well as Pakistan. Plus, just as Pakistan has been struggling with the flood aftermath, similarly, Turkey has sort of been facing that. The one message that the Prime Minister was able to communicate was there are many other ways of doing business together. Just as barter and leaving the US dollar out of our internal trade between each other, even before both of us being admitted into BRICS. Now, what the example that Pakistan has established, setting up the Balochistan, Sistan agreement with Iran of doing barter between our two nations, that is a tremendous example for Pakistan to and Turkey to sort of emulate going forward. And with our relationships, I know that in many cases, if in the economic terms, the needs of Turkey and the needs of Pakistan differ a little bit. So a few important things that happened in this visit of Prime Minister to Turkey was his meetings on the sidelines with other heads of state who were there just to wish the president the very best in the term that he's just won. And that includes the president of Azerbaijan, his tremendous meetings with the business community in Turkey, and our offer for Turkey to invest not only as a bilateral partner, but as a brother investing in our assets and being a shareholder in our own community. So I find, while it is all economics and numbers, but it really stems from our brother-to-brother relationship with Turkey and the people-to-people relationship with Turkey.
So, Mr. Atif, this particular trade in goods agreement, what does this particular agreement between Pakistan and Turkey signify, and what sort of an impetus in order to enhance the trade volume between the two countries it would play in the future?
So, a couple of primary things that are sort of related to this are, sort of Pakistan is supplying wheat worth about $100 million, and a couple of things that we are getting in respect in back are energy and iron ore. So these are the sort of basics of this. But as we move forward, there'll be other goods and other services that we'll be able to trade with each other.
So what about the textile sector? Pakistan's exports in textiles to Turkey.
So Pakistan has actually made tremendous strides as far as microfiber is concerned. The unfortunate thing with that, this is one of the, even though Pakistan, while the large-scale manufacturing has suffered a little bit, Pakistan has never done better in the past 4 years that it has done in those companies that trade on Pakistan Stock Exchange, like Interflora, like others. They have not done as well in Pakistan over the past 4 years as they have done in the past quarter. Just this past one quarter, they've done tremendously well. The reason for that, again, is the fluctuation in the US dollar, because they ended up buying the raw material for cheaper, and now because of the devaluation of the Pakistan rupee, it is they've just been like a bonanza of sales. Like the whole world wants what Pakistan is manufacturing. Unfortunately,
right.
Yes, sir.
Please go ahead. Please complete.
No, just wanted to finish the thought that one area where Turkey is really sort of can benefit from Pakistan is in the microfiber area, where Pakistan has made tremendous strides. And today being the day, that brings environment into focus all across the world. And this is environment for environmentalists. It's really important today. I'd like to say that Pakistan has made tremendous strides, and it's Turkey can benefit from Pakistan in what it has done in textile manufacturing vis-a-vis environment.
Right, your point is well taken. We're joined by another participant on the show, Mr. Ali Sarwar Naqvi, former ambassador, joining us on phone line. Mr. Naqvi, thank you very much for joining in at Views on News tonight. Really appreciate that. Now we see Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif attended the inauguration and the swearing-in ceremony of President Erdogan. How do you see the relationship between Pakistan and Turkey over the years has been, or what had been the major factors of motivation of this bilateral relationship?
Yes, well, it's a subject that is of considerable importance. Pakistan and Turkey have had a long history of association. Turkey was one of the first countries to recognize Pakistan in 1947. So we have had 76 years of our bilateral relations. And we have seen Turkish cooperation and collaboration with Pakistan develop on two fronts. One is the bilateral front, in which we have had a lot of economic cooperation. Turkish companies are functioning in Pakistan, and Pakistan has been providing many services to Turkey. So that is the bilateral front. Then there is the multilateral front. On the multilateral front, Pakistan and Turkey have been on the ECO, and before that the RCD. And third, Pakistan and Turkey have cooperated closely on many major issues in the United Nations. So we have cooperated in regard to Kashmir, because Turkey supports Pakistan's position on Kashmir. And lately, Jawad, they did not go to Srinagar when India tried to host a meeting of the tourism group of the G20. So their support for Kashmir is consistent. We have also supported Turkey on its positions in regard to Cyprus, in regard to Azerbaijan, and other such sort of issues of regional importance. So there are many facets of Pakistan-Turkey relations. The other point that I want to make is that these facets are reflected in the fact that there have been high-level bilateral visits between Pakistan and Turkey. The first time that Mr. Erdogan, Recep Tayyip Erdogan visited Pakistan was in 2000. And then he visited lately in 2020. And then President Arif Alvi visited Turkey in 2021. And now Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif is in Turkey to be present at the inauguration of the Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan for a third term. So,
Mr. Naqvi, the two countries also signed the trade in goods agreement back in the last year, and that has become operational from the 31st of May this year. What does that particular agreement, as far as the trade relations between the two countries is concerned, signify?
It signifies very close bilateral cooperation in the vital area of trade, and this is governed by the overseen and monitored by the High-Level Cooperation Council between Pakistan and Turkey that was set up in 2009, and now this has been converted into High-Level Strategic Cooperation Council. So the sixth meeting of the HLSCC was held in Islamabad during President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's recent visit to Pakistan. Most recent visit to Pakistan in 2020. So the trade agreement, I think, covers a wide range of bilateral trade in very many areas that in which Turkey can help Pakistan, and our products are needed in Turkey. So we have established a basis of close bilateral cooperation.
You already mentioned that the cooperation between Pakistan had been once bilateral, also in the multilateral domain. Also, when it comes to regional issues like the Kashmir dispute, Pakistan had got a firm support when it comes to Kashmir dispute from Turkey on all international fora. Likewise, reciprocation from Pakistan when it comes to the regional issues of Turkey are concerned regarding Cyprus and Azerbaijan. When we talk about Afghanistan, there is a trilateral summit mechanism between Afghanistan, Pakistan and Turkey. How do you think both the countries can cooperate and collaborate in order to bring in peace and stability in the war-ravaged Afghanistan?
Yes, this is a very important point. The trilateral council between Pakistan, Afghanistan and Turkey is a forum that is aimed at stabilizing and establishing stability in Afghanistan. The Afghan government, after it took over last year, from then on it has been sort of veering on the edge of economic and financial collapse. And I think Turkey has played a very vital role in helping with humanitarian aid and in also helping Afghan trade and bilateral cooperation. So the trilateral forum is actually aimed at coordinating action in regard to economic cooperation and also political consultations on in regard to establishing peace and stability in Afghanistan.
Right, Mr. Ali Sarwar Naqvi, former ambassador, joining us on the phone line. Thank you very much for being with us on Views on News tonight. I really appreciate your time. Dr. Malik, when we talk about the multilateral cooperation between Pakistan and Turkey on the multilateral forum, and Mr. Naqvi also highlighted that Pakistan got a firm support from Turkey when it comes to the resolution of Kashmir dispute, also the Turkey refusing to attend that meeting organized by India in Srinagar. Hasn't that particular support been significant over the years?
I think, like I mentioned earlier on, that Pakistan and Turkey have had significant relationship, a brotherly relationship, as mentioned by the previous speakers as well. And this is likely to continue. It's also because President Erdogan has a particular familiarity with Pakistan and a liking for it, and our significant Muslim brotherhood in that respect. But we have to look further than this. And we have to look at two countries that are fighting for their economies. You see, when others are looking better and they're focused on their futures, we're struggling at this moment in time, irrespective of what anybody says, we are. And this is where we mutually aid each other in increasing capacity for each other. And I think that's where we will jointly increase our capacity to be better relations and have a future interaction as well. And this is our country's relationships grow more than anything else, I think, where bilateral relations on multiple different fronts, whether it's economic, political, strategic, cultural, people-to-people, interaction with other countries, and trilateral relationships where Turkey and Pakistan and maybe other third parties can join hand in hand together, and that further signifies our relationship, which is absolutely necessary. And remember also, this is our gateway into another world, which we have. I think it's more than significant, and I think this relationship more than anything will grow further, irrespective of what happens internally in government. I think there's the establishment and the country as a whole recognizes the significance of Turkey in the future of Pakistan as well. And I think that's very important in how we engage in geopolitical aspects, becoming to an extent a firm ally in many which ways that we can rely on. And I think the support that President Erdogan has provided us, especially with not attending the G20 summit in Indian-held Kashmir, is significant because it is a strong economy and it gives an overt understanding to the other countries that what is going on is not correct. What it does is allow other countries to signify, occupation of other territories, and this is a complete contradiction of what these other G20 countries that attended are doing when they impose sanctions on other countries that may be occupied.
So a strong message was delivered to the G20 members.
Absolutely strong method by those countries that did not attend. And I think it's very important to understand this. And this is why when you look at what happened, the hoo-ha and the hype that Indian media made this into this conference, what happened is that in the after effects, it was quite subdued. And the countries that did send their people didn't send the highest level people. They wanted participation, but they just wanted a mediocre or a very lukewarm participation because they understood what they were doing, which will inevitably come back and bite them because of what they've done. They set a precedent, which will hurt them later on, I guarantee this, by your allowing an occupied area to be signified by your presence, which would mean that other countries could go to other occupied areas and they've set the precedent and signify that presence for that particular country. And so what's happened, international relations will change as a result. So they sent a lukewarm response, but the fact of the matter is, if they didn't send anybody, that would be the collapse of the G20 completely. So we have to recognize that as well. And this was India playing its cards. It thinks successfully, but there's been a mute response in this respect.
So what about bringing peace and stability when it comes to the war ravaged Afghanistan? Historically, when we talk specifically about the trilateral summit between Pakistan, Afghanistan and Turkey, how the two countries have been able to meet that particular goal of bringing peace and prosperity and stability in Afghanistan, and what future prospect of this trilateral summit between these three countries do you think does have for future?
Let's go back a little bit, 2 years virtually, in 21, August 15th, when Taliban took over and made it the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. People failed to realize, completely failed to realize, that that was the end of a 43-year war. And that peace and stability is slowly creeping in. The level of violence that occurred and has occurred since then is absolutely diminished. There are attacks by ISIS and ISIS-related groups, meaning Islamic State Khorasan and their related affiliated groups, like the Uzbek Islam Movement of Uzbekistan and other affiliated groups, but they're not as significant as they were. And Taliban has been gaining control of the country. Now, there are caveats to this. There are massive necessities for the existing current government of Afghanistan to look at the wider international community and to accept that there are certain norms in the international community that must follow to be accepted. See, having peaceful relations with Afghanistan between Pakistan and Turkiye are one thing, but Afghanistan also needs the rest of the world. And this is where Turkiye on one side and Pakistan on the other must, I believe, establish links and influence on Afghanistan and the current government to indicate that they must take away those restrictions on women. This is an absolute fundamental issue that the rest of the world wants. And I think even now, when we look at Afghanistan's government and we look at the Interior Minister, Haqqani, he is absolutely in favor of removing restrictions, but he has a very hawkish opposition to him. But we've also got to remember that 20 years of fighting, and in order to fight for 20 years, the Taliban have had to absolutely, against a superpower, be absolutely focused. So to get rid of that focus and that blind trust in the way they think, and actually try to build upon that is very difficult. It's going to take time,
right,
I believe.
Dr. Malik, what I understand is that Pakistan and Turkey should join hands in order to urge the Afghan authorities,
yes,
especially when it comes to removing that very ban on girls' education and the women employment also. Am I correct?
Absolutely. There is no choice but to do this.
That is the point to start with.
But you've got to appreciate that Turkey is largely a secular country also. And one of the fundamental aspects of Turkey is the fundamental rights for women to engage in all aspects of economic and educational activities in par and on the same basis as men. And same is true in Pakistan. So we uphold this as a fundamental right for all women around the world and in Afghanistan.
Right, Mr. Shikoh, when we talk about this trade in goods agreement between Pakistan and Turkey, now according to this particular mechanism, around 261 tariff lines of Pakistani origin are going to get that market access to Turkey, and likewise 130 tariff lines of Turkey to Pakistani markets. Now, specifically when we talk about the Pakistani authorities' desire to enhance exports, what sort of an impact this particular agreement is going to have on that front when there is a preferential access for Pakistani products in the Turkey's market?
So, excellent question. If you allow me, I just want to touch a little bit upon something really pertinent that you were just speaking about, and that is one area where I think Pakistan can follow in the footsteps of Turkey is while the president and Turkey took an amazing principled stand against India just recently in the G20 summit, their approach to negotiating with terrorism has been unfettered, and no one in Turkey, and the president's stance has been, you cannot be a terrorist and come to the negotiating table. So I think there is something for Pakistan to learn from there. And while the brand of Turkey is a secular Islamic country, and the brand of no judgment and acceptability that they promote is unparalleled all across the world. And we believe the same for rights of women, rights for all, but there is that no acceptance of terrorism and no acceptance of bullying your way to the negotiating table. So that is one very important area where we can learn from Turkey. Coming back to your question, I think this opening up of the markets, just because we are the 5th largest economy in the world, as far as the demographics and the size of the population is concerned, just because over 50% of our population is young people, I think Turkey really stands to benefit from this access to Pakistan. And after the one thing that has benefited without a shadow of doubt since the coming of, since the past 1 year, verifiably, is CPEC is back. And just as Pakistan tremendously benefits from CPEC, Turkey does as well. So with what CPEC allows Turkey to do is gain tremendous access to the Pakistani market and beyond. So in this gauge, I think Turkey, we are very glad to say and very proud to say, benefits a lot more from the access to the Pakistani markets than Pakistan does from access to Turkey. However, one last thing I would say as far as exports are concerned, I think while Turkey is not officially a part of the European Union, I think us getting the G+ access to Europe, Turkey had a major role to play in that, and had a major impact in Pakistan getting the G+ access to the European markets as far as our exports are concerned.
Right, Mr. Shikoh, Atif, the Prime Minister also has said that the bilateral trade volume between Pakistan and Turkey must be reaching at $5 billion annually in 3 years. Now, he has also talked about specific sectors that include agriculture, energy, IT, and construction. There has been keenness that's been expressed by the Turkish companies also regarding these sectors. Do you think this particular milestone of $5 billion annual bilateral trade between Pakistan and Turkey after the signing of this particular agreement can be reached within this stipulated time period, that estimated time period of 3 years?
I am absolutely certain that it can. And this is so heartwarming, I cannot tell you. You know, even our Muslim countries, even our brothers, sometimes fall to their knees when they are faced with a large market like India. But the wonderful thing with Turkey is they have stood their ground. They have stood their principle. So, to your point, however, there is only one thing that can get us to the goal, to the challenging, yet very achievable goal that the Prime Minister has said. And that one area which will take Pakistan and Turkey, both of us together, to that goal is if we don't master the area, and if we don't start our access into exporting technology to each other, if we don't master new areas like artificial intelligence, like blockchain, unfortunately, I don't see a chance of us sticking with the old model of exports and getting there, especially with the price of the dollar where it is right now, because Pakistan's exports and Turkey's exports both might be impacted by the value of the US dollar. So IT and information technology, if Turkey and Pakistan both have a solid strategy to get into that, absolutely, this target is very, very achievable.
So Mr. Shikoh, Atif, what should be done? What measures in that regard should be taken when it comes to increasing the exports, when it comes to the IT sector in particular, and the joint collaboration between Turkey and Pakistan?
I am so impressed with a guy who went to Wharton Business School, and I've had some interaction with him around the world as well. And his name is Ehsan Iqbal. He's looking after the planning and development, I believe, right now, the ministry right now. So he is doing some amazing things in that area in promoting IT technology within Pakistan. But to be honest with you, this was a summit that was really focused on welcoming President Erdogan's next term. But I really believe that just focused on IT interaction and IT technology, what I propose is that there should be a summit, especially for this, between Pakistan and Turkey, where a solid strategy of joint exports to the European markets is ushered in, and there is a solid strategy on what does the world need right now. Because if both these countries, if we get back and we are not on the front line of artificial intelligence, it will be a little bit like being in the year 2005 without internet connections. So the difference that was in 1990, etc., when internet came, and if Pakistan was 15 years behind it, or Turkey was 15 years behind it, would have a tremendous impact. So the two words, if I can emphasize, their strategy should be focused on only two things, and that is artificial intelligence.
Right, Dr. Malik, do you agree with what Mr. Shikoh Atif has said? Because the artificial intelligence, especially we have seen in the recent past, has taken the societies by storm. What's your understanding of increasing that bilateral cooperation between Pakistan and Turkey?
Several years ago, I think 6 or 7 years ago, I was on a program here in PTV World talking about exponential technologies. For the first time in Pakistan history, there was a program here where I in depth talked about the future of technology and what it's going to do. And artificial intelligence now is proliferated everywhere, and everybody knows about it, actually a lot faster than what was expected at that time. So it's going to exponentially increase. An exponential increase is not following a linear path, it goes up fast. And the more you create, the more you will create exponentially. So we've got to get a hang of that. That's the future of global exports, is more service industries, for example. Countries can base a whole, but you need the whole existence on that. Like Britain is no longer a production country, it's a service industry that it provides services around the world in that respect, with a highly educated population and with quality services. And so we've got to focus on that. Where we're very far behind. And the economic policies that we have must introduce the idea of higher education, but even from a young age, focusing the whole curriculum based on a young age to focus the mind of the children towards this direction. We have millions and tens of millions of children growing up without that type of interaction. I think that's the future of it, to mold their minds towards the future as far as exponential technologies. And that's not just artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is one aspect. And it's collaborated with genetic engineering, robotics, neural networking, which is interaction between humans and machine interfacing with machines, and how even neurons, well, built into the machines where just now Elon Musk is attempting to implant chips into the brains of people who are willing to see how they would function with enhanced, maybe future intelligence, manifold. So right now you think Einstein was most intelligent. He wasn't. Imagine building intelligence to the average level of 10 times more. And imagine if you can do that for a large section of the population, you're going to get masses more intelligent ideas and solutions coming out. So this is the future of what is happening in the future of the world. And we need to start focusing on this. Obviously, we can't, at this moment in time, with the economy and the way it is, that we focus on very dollar-heavy industries and dollar-heavy services, because we don't have that capacity at this moment in time. But we can in many other fields, and we have the brains to do it. We just need to focus the brains in the right direction. And I know I shouldn't label, but NUST is a front runner in artificial intelligence in this country, with a technology part, the only technology part in the country. So, I mean, we are pushing forward in this respect, and other universities and other industries can come in and join hands in that respect and have a coordinated approach with the government. And this is what you require. You do need a summit, and I think the previous speaker was spot on in this respect. Okay. We need a summit with the leaders of the industries and recognize what the pertinent cases will be, or pertinent issues will be in the next 10 years, and it is artificial intelligence, but that also includes multiple aspects of exponential technologies, including longevity research in medicine, multiple other aspects of robotics. And we're not just focusing on military issues. We're talking about impact on civil society, impact on general population and their minds, and through the education system, it needs to be massively upgraded with a new modern outlook and not remain in the old school way of thinking and giving rote learning. We need to introduce critical thinking from a very young age. When you start criticizing, you start finding answers. When you start asking questions, you find solutions. When you start finding solutions, you look for ways to implement them. But if you don't ask questions, right, there are no solutions and there are no change. There will be no change because you won't have the answers. So this is the way we need to start thinking. Critical thinking is the future of this country, which the European nations, the Americans, and even the tiger economies and Japan have mastered many years ago. I think we need to understand that.
Your point is well taken. Mr. Shikoh, Atif, one last very quick comment. Of course, you have highlighted the future prospect and the potential when it comes to the artificial intelligence and the collaboration between Pakistan and Turkey. Of course, the two countries have to collaborate also when it comes to the export and imports of the conventional goods and products. Now, Prime Minister is also, while he met with the business groups over there in Turkey, ensured for facilitation and the conducive business environment. What more needs to be done on this front when it comes to Pakistani authorities facilitating the Turkish investors for the foreign direct investment from that country?
For sure. So the tremendous trust that we've had in the past as well, but unfortunately, the one thing that we keep doing to ourselves is, axing our own foot is, so there are 10 countries that have a worse current account deficit than Pakistan. But no one in those countries, none of these half knowledgeable, like sort of semi-knowledgeable people go on television and keep saying, the country is going to default tomorrow, the country is going to default tomorrow. Now, economic sentiment is a very real thing. So as stability comes to Pakistan and as we move away from these naysayers and these doomsday announcers, stability will come to Pakistan. And as stability comes, the confidence of Turkey and our brothers will, so lots of people, all the Muslim countries, especially in many other countries, non-Muslim as well, especially China, have a lot of love for Pakistan. The only thing is...
Indeed. Your point is well taken, Mr. Shikoh. Atif, I beg your pardon for the interjection. Unfortunately, we're short of time. Senior economist joining us on Sky. We really appreciate your time for being with us on Views on News tonight. We really Professor Dr. Aqab Malik joining us in the studio, associated with the Center for International Peace and Stability at NUST. Dr. Malik, thank you very much for your time also for being with us on Views on News tonight. We really appreciate that. With that, we come to the end of today's episode. Till the next one, take good care of yourselves and thank you for watching.